Hello, Wonderhussy here. Just hanging out in front of my Death Valley compound on a beautiful but intensely hot May evening. It's May 18th today, I think. And it's like 7 o'clock in the evening and it's still freaking hot. And the little flies are out and they're biting me, and the bombers are out and they're trying to gouge me, and I got sweat running down my... well, you know what, but I decided to come out here anyway because I wanted to make a video talking about my rig. Because believe it or not, it's almost been 6 full years now since I got this Toyota 4Runner, and what adventures we've had. We've explored the desert, the mountains, the beach, and the forest. We've been to hot springs and ghost towns, from California to Tennessee, from Washington State all the way down to Baja California, Mexico. We've been through wind, rain, snow, and even a haboob or two. That's a dust storm. And we've driven on some pretty rough roads and been stuck a time or two. But we always made it out in one piece, and well, she just keeps chugging along. And besides being extraordinarily rugged and reliable, this Toyota 4Runner is also a very safe and cozy place to sleep. That's right, I've camped in this rig all over the place, and I hope to sleep in the back of my Forerunner at many more beautiful and remote locations in the days, weeks, months to come. I mean, even though I've had this car for 6 years, and it's been an action-packed 6 years, this car has definitely seen some action. You know how you see some people with those off-roading rigs with the snorkel and the trash bag on the back and the spare tire on the back with a gate and a winch on the front and the roof rack on the top and the traction board strapped to the side, and you just know they never go anywhere other than back and forth to the friggin' shopping mall or Best Buy or whatever. Well, that has not been the case with me and my Forerunner. I mean, obviously, you can tell by just looking around the rig. Well, this piece of the bumper here, I bonked into something and it came loose. And then, oh gosh, back here, this happened like the very first week I had the car. And then there's dents and dings and scratches and pinstripes and, well, there's all kinds of cosmetic damage, but I don't really worry about cosmetic damage as long as everything is running good under the hood. And it is. The only real problems I've had with this thing are the friggin' high-end Icon shocks I got, and I don't mean to disparage the Icon brand because somebody who works for Icon once really helped me out. But I will say that they're kind of finicky. You know, I have a lot of problems with them leaking, and then I have to go in and get them rebuilt, and gosh, for a while there I was having to have them rebuilt like every 30,000 miles, which is about what I drive in a year. So it was like every year I had to do a shock rebuild, and it was expensive. But then somebody at this off-road shop I used to go to told me that if I just keep my wheel wells clean, like if I rinse out my wheel wells and rinse off the shocks after off-roading, I could prolong the life of the seals. The seals won't degrade as fast and then they won't leak. And knock wood, my last name is Woodall, so I'll knock myself. Knock wood, I haven't had as many problems with shock rebuilds since I started keeping squeaky clean wheel wells. But I do have almost 170,000 miles on this car now, and I am starting to have some kind of little wonky issues, just minor stuff like the tailgate. Well, for a long time I haven't really been able to roll down my rear window, because what happens is when I go off-roading, I don't know how, but dust gets somehow inside this housing here, and so the gears that, or the mechanism that rolls the window up and down, just get totally clogged. And oh gosh, a few summers ago I was out in the middle of nowhere, Oregon, and the window got stuck down and I couldn't roll it up, and it was only thanks to the kindness of some very nice friends of mine at Alvord Hot Springs in Oregon that I was able to get it back up. So then I was, well, check this out, I was so afraid that it would get stuck down that I actually went ahead and just put a big old sticker over the switch. There's a switch under there, that's how you roll the back window down. So I figure if I just put a sticker over it, that way I won't be tempted or accidentally lean my elbow on it and roll it down when I don't want to. And I did have some friends when I got back to Vegas. I had some friends go in and take the whole thing apart and like really clean it out. And so it did work, you know, in their shop immediately after they cleaned it. But I don't trust it to last, so I don't use my rear tailgate window, which is a bummer. And I feel like that's kind of maybe a design flaw in these things, because I know at least one other person, my friend Rex, hi Rex if you're watching, Rex had issues with his too. And so he actually put a piece of wood over the switch so he wouldn't hit it. So I don't know, maybe it's just a common issue with Forerunners. It's a bummer. It'd be nice to be able to roll that window down, but it's not a deal killer. Aside from that, really the only other issue I've been having is the tailgate latch itself is, I don't know, sometimes it takes a minute to close it and open it. And I think it probably just has a lot of dust in it too. Well, let's just face it. I do a lot of off-roading, which means there's a lot of dust in all these components. And, oh, look, here's what I was talking about. That's one of those bombers. I don't know if you saw it before it flew away, but they're these huge black horseflies that come out here when the temperature gets to a certain point. And apparently now the temperature is at that point, and they're nasty, man. They land on you, and they don't just like bite you, they gouge you. So I better make this quick so I can get back inside and out of harm's way. Okay, anyway, like I was saying, aside from the tailgate and the shocks, I really haven't had any issues with this Forerunner the whole time I've had it. And I'm really good about getting it serviced. I take it in for oil changes every 5,000 miles. And of course, if it's making a sound or I'm worried about anything, I get that looked at. I try to be proactive because I do spend so much time in super duper ultra desolate locations where no one can hear you scream. And if I broke down, I'd really be in a jam. So yeah, I did have a problem with my battery last summer. Fortunately, I happened to be in an area with cell signal and on a paved road, so AAA came and towed me back, and then this awesome family came and helped me buy a new battery and change that. So my battery's good for now. 170,000 miles on the car though. I feel like, aren't you supposed to start thinking about getting a new alternator around that time? I don't know. I asked my mechanic, who I have an awesome mechanic. His name is Andrew, and he has a shop called Trusted Imports in Vegas, and he's awesome. Andrew, if you happen to be watching, hi Andrew, hi Bobby. Bobby's the other guy in the shop. They're great. Anyway, I asked them, like, should I just proactively replace the alternator? And he said, nah, don't worry about it. But then it's like, well, you don't really, my understanding is you don't get really any notice if an alternator is about to go bad. So I would hate to be out in the middle of nowhere with a bad alternator and have to deal with it in some podunk town. So I don't know, you tell me. Do I have anything to worry about aside from the bombers? All joking aside though, I do miss, or I guess, well, yeah, I miss having that feeling of invincibility I had when this car was new. I got this car in June of 2017, and it was an epic summer because I had a brand new vehicle. This thing only had like 10, 13 miles on it when I got it, and I drove it all over the dang place. Okay, that was the summer I was looking for the Fenn treasure. If you remember the Fenn treasure, that eccentric art dealer hid this $2 million treasure somewhere in the Rocky Mountains, and then he wrote this poem with clues leading you to the treasure. Remember that whole thing? Well, anyway, I was looking for it that summer. So I drove out to Colorado, and I went down to Santa Fe and actually met up with Forrest Fenn, and then went all the way up to Yellowstone. And well, the car was brand new, man. I just felt totally comfortable driving anywhere into the most remote, desolate areas because I felt confident that I wasn't going to have any mechanical issues. Well, now, 170K, I haven't had any problems, but I feel like that's about the age when cars do start breaking down or having little problems. Like, here's a good example. I was out in the very remote and desolate Saline Valley of Death Valley last month. And I had planned to go check out a hot spring and a bunch of stuff. And, well, all of a sudden these lights came on my dashboard. All the lights for the traction control and the, oh gosh, I don't even remember. A bunch of little lights came on and I couldn't do anything to get them off. Well, I figured it was just a sensor that came loose, but I didn't know. You know, I'm like way out there in the middle of nowhere. So I ended up having to cut my trip short, come home, go to my mechanic. He figured it out. I just needed to get an alignment and then oh gosh, he had to run some diagnostic, an ABS diagnostic, I think. And anyway, that got the lights to turn off. But it's little things like that that are only now starting to happen because the vehicle's getting old. Just like me, we've aged together like fine wines. Speaking of that, all this blabbering is working up a thirst. I better go take a sippy sip of my ranch water. If I can't be sponsored by Toyota, at least I should be sponsored by Cool delicious, refreshing ranch water. Anyway, like I was saying, I don't feel quite as bulletproof as I used to in this car. Even though I know Toyotas are supremely reliable and dependable, and they're known to get 300,000 miles on a transmission easy, I don't really feel like I have to worry so much about the motor. It's just the individual components, you know, little things are going to start breaking down. And so now I'm kind of in the position of, well, should I just get a new car? I mean, I know that's a huge expense, and right now is a terrible time to buy a new car because everything's so freaking expensive because of inflation, but I don't know. I feel like it might be worth it to me for peace of mind. You know what I mean? Like, sure, a new car is going to be expensive, but golly, so is a new alternator and AAA and getting towed and getting stuck and all the mental stress and anguish, and you kind of have to put a price on that too. So I don't know how much peace of mind is worth to me, and I don't know what they're asking for new Forerunners right now anyway, but well, it's just something I started thinking about. I feel like it might be time for me to start thinking about getting a new vehicle. And so then I started thinking to myself, well, if I get a new vehicle, would I get a Toyota 4Runner again? You know, it's been a great car, very capable, very dependable, very rugged, and very comfortable. But, you know, what if I wanted to go a different direction and get, you know, like, what if I wanted to go van life? Dun, dun, dun. That's right, everybody. I bought a school bus, and I'm going to be traveling around the country from now on, living in a schoolie. I'm changing the name of this channel to Wonder Schoolie, and I hope you'll all follow me in my adventures as I break down across the country in this giant diesel hunka. Well, I won't call it a hunka jug. It's actually not my bus. This is my sister's boyfriend's bus, and it is absolutely beautiful inside. He did an amazing job building out. He lives in this bus full time. He's not here right now, but I would show you the interior, but he's very private about it, and rightly so, because he did such a nice job building it out. Anyway, he lives in this thing, and I've just seen secondhand how many problems he has. Like one time, he was driving around east of Tonopah. Okay, if you know anything about Nevada, it is very remote in general. I mean, there's Vegas at the bottom and Reno at the top, and not a whole lot of anything in between. Well, this guy was driving around in his school bus. I guess it doesn't matter if I show his plates. They're from the Netherlands anyway. He's waiting on his California plates. I think he's getting California plates. Anyway, he was driving around east of Tonopah in the literal middle of nowhere, and he broke down. And so thankfully, he always carries an electric scooter with him. So he was on, if you've ever been up there, he was on US Highway 6, middle of nowhere. I mean, he must have been 100 miles outside Tonopah. He was able to ride that electric scooter into Tonopah, and he tried to find a mechanic in Tonopah that could work on this diesel bus. Inexplicably, Tonopah is a mining town, so you'd think there would be diesel mechanics, but this is the second time I've heard of people needing a diesel mechanic in Tonopah and being left high and dry. So he was SOL. He ended up having to get the bus towed all the way, essentially from Tonopah to Vegas. And the funny thing is, it cost him as much to tow this bus from Tonopah to Vegas as it did to ship this bus all the way from the Netherlands to New York. How about that? Anyway, all of that was just to say that, yeah, living in a bus or a van, you know, it's cute and it's fun and it's sexy and it's so glamorous. But if you watch these van lifer, you know, full-time nomad channels, a lot of their videos are all about broken down again and, you know, this broke and that went wrong. And I feel like there's definitely pros and cons to van life versus buying another Forerunner. And I don't have to get another Forerunner. I could get something else. I know a lot of people really like Jeeps, but I don't know. I wouldn't want to sleep in a Jeep. It's just it's not big enough. This is for me, and I'm only 5'3", this is very comfortable to sleep in the back. And I've showed plenty of videos with my sleeping setup. I don't have it set up right now, but you've seen what it looks like when I have it all set up to camp. And it's pretty cozy. I mean, the way I have it set up, I can sit up straight, and I have a little space for my head. And yeah, I can't stand up. And if I have to pee, you know, in my pee bottle, it's kind of cramped. But overall, I think I would take that for there's reliability with a Toyota. There's stealth, you know, in a SUV like this, you can camp just about anywhere. No one knows you're sleeping in your car, you know. I have tinted windows and I can put blackout things up, and I could basically sleep on any street in America and no one would know. With a van, you don't have that stealth. you don't necessarily have that reliability. As far as I know, Toyota doesn't make a van anymore. They used to make a van. I don't know why they don't anymore. If Toyota made a van, oh my God, I'd be tempted. But I'd still be sacrificing I don't know how to say that, my nimbleness, maneuverability. This has like a relatively short wheelbase, so I can get around tight curves and get into skinny little places. And well, like when I'm boondocking, camping on BLM land or whatever, I like to go way away from everyone else. I don't like to park by all the other van lifers, and I want to be alone, right? So in this, I can go up any gnarly road and tuck myself in a little nook somewhere where I'm out of sight, out of mind. And I would hate to lose that with a van. Now, there are some vans, like I just met this guy who has an Astro van, okay? A Chevy Astro van, which I guess technically he gets mad if you call it a minivan. I guess it's a miniature van, or I don't know. It's basically a minivan, but his is 4-wheel drive. And he got it lifted and he got good tires on it, and it's very capable, but it's a small van, okay? It basically has the same profile as my Forerunner. It's just a little bit higher, and he can actually, well, he can't stand up, but he's just got a lot more living space. Actually, I made a video interviewing him about how he sleeps in his Astro van, and I'm going to put that up, I think, next week. So stay tuned for that. It's very interesting. But I wouldn't want to get a Chevy Astro van because they don't make them anymore. So now I'm getting a used van, and there's going to be mechanical issues with that, and I don't know anything about mechanics. No, I need to start fresh. I need something brand new, unfortunately. And as tempting as a bus or a van or some kind of RV is, I'm probably just going to go ahead and stick with the Forerunner. I mean, why not? This one's been so good to me, and my sister's got a Forerunner parked over there. And like I said, my friend Rex has a Forerunner. My friend Ross, the one-legged miner, has a Forerunner. Everybody's got a Forerunner. They're just great vehicles. Now, that being said, there are some things I would do differently on the next go-round. Okay, I would definitely get the same lift because I like having that amount of clearance. And I would definitely get the same tires because I really like these BF Goodrich KO2s. But, sorry Icon, I probably wouldn't get Icon shocks again. I think I would get Bilstein shocks, which I think is what comes with a Toyota anyway. And then there's a couple other things I'd do differently. I would definitely get rock sliders instead of well, I don't know if you can tell, but I have this running board, and it's real... Well, you can probably see how bent it is from hitting rocks. I go on a lot of really rough roads, so rock sliders would probably be good. I need a beefier skid plate. I'll go ahead and put the phone under the car. I don't know, you probably can't really see, but there's probably a lot of dents and dings on my undercarriage there from all the various rocks and, I don't know, trees, stuff that I've hit over the years. In fact, the worst jam I was ever in this thing, I got high centered on a rock on my gas tank. It was pretty gnarly. In fact, I would say it's the worst jam I've ever been in. Fortunately, I was with my girlfriend Jessica, who also has a Forerunner, and between the two of us, we were able to jack up, we had 2 jacks between us, jack up my car, get it clear of the rock, and then I attached my tow strap to the back of my car, and she just yanked me right off of that rock. And oh my God, the gas tank was fine. Even though I was sitting on top of this rock on my gas tank, I thought, oh golly, I know my gas tank's probably busted, my car's gonna explode, blah, blah, blah. No, it's still fine. I mean, I guess they make those gas tanks out of pretty durable material, especially for these Forerunners. Just another example of why Toyota Forerunners are so freaking awesome. And yes, I know I keep talking about Toyota Forerunner, well, that's the whole point of this video, but well, if I do get sponsored by Toyota, I certainly wouldn't complain. And then I might also consider getting some kind of like basket on the roof, like a roof rack, and maybe even one of those awnings. Every extra thing you put on here, snorkel, winch, skid plate, all that stuff is heavy, and it all adds up, and this thing only gets like 16 miles per gallon on a good day as it is, let alone not loaded down with all that extraneous crap, which realistically, how often am I going to use a snorkel? How often am I going to use, well, I was going to say how often am I going to use a winch, but well, I could have used a winch just the other day, actually. I mean, you can't tell now looking at her, but just the other day, this thing was buried to its axles in thick, deep, ooey gooey mud. That's right, I went mudding, and not on purpose. It's a long story. I'll try to make it brief. I went to visit a friend in the middle of nowhere, Nevada, and we went off-roading up in the mountains to go try to find this ghost town. And this was a part of Nevada that's very, very, very desolate. Matter of fact, it wasn't too far from where his bus broke down that time. How about that? It's super remote, super desolate. But this woman I know bought a ranch out there, and so she invited me to come visit her. You know, she moved out there from the big city, and she was excited. She wanted to show it off. Okay, I'll come visit you. So we're going to go off-roading up in the mountains. We're going to go see some ghost towns. We're going to go see some hot springs. Only downside was the lady, there's like this boss lady who kind of runs the whole valley. It's very sparsely populated, but you know, there's ranches and there is a population who lives out there. Well, the main lady who runs the show out there really doesn't like me, according to my friend. She said something, they were doing some community event once, and this lady said something like, well, there's one YouTuber I don't like, and that's that Wonderhussy, because she made a video about my hot spring. I think what made her, or what upset her was, I did a video about a hot spring up there once, and it was kind of near her family's homestead or something. Well, the hot spring was on public land. I didn't do any trespassing, but, you know, some people, rightly so, just don't like their local hot springs getting blasted on social media. So this woman had a beef with me. No problem. I'm not planning to run into her. I'm just going to mind my own business, go visit my friend at her ranch, and we're going to go off-roading up to the mountains and go find this ghost town. So we brought the little neighbor kid with us, okay? The neighboring ranch. There's a 12-year-old boy who lives on the neighboring ranch, and he was just adorable, amazing, wonderful kid. So polite, so well-spoken. He knew about everything, nature, animals, plants. Like, he wasn't even 12. He was only 11 and a half. Just an awesome, awesome kid. And that just goes to show, like, if you raise your kids out in the country, I sometimes feel like that's probably a better life for them. Anyway, the three of us went off-roading up in the mountains, went to look at all these ghost towns and stuff, and, well, on the way back down, we were just heading back to my friend's house where she was going to make us ribs for dinner, and she was going to invite the local trapper over. Okay, this guy is a trapper for the state of Nevada. I didn't even realize this is a job. He gets paid to go out and camp and hunt coyotes, mountain lions, and, you know, nuisance animals, because there's a lot of ranches up there, sheep, cows. They have to keep the coyote and mountain lion populations down. So this guy is a trapper for the state of Nevada. Anyway, he was going to come over for dinner. So we're headed back towards the house, and we're running a little bit late. So she goes, hey, she told the little ranch kid that was with us, because he was the only one among us that had cell signal. It's out in the middle of nowhere. Verizon gets no signal. For some reason, AT&T does. And I actually find that to be the case a lot of places. Verizon's generally the best provider, but I don't know, like out in the boonies, AT&T is usually better. As a matter of fact, AT&T is better here where I live. Anyway, he had AT&T, so she goes, hey, will you call or text the trapper and tell him, you know, we're running late, just go ahead and let yourself in the house. Okay, well, he's trying to text, but it's a bumpy road, so he goes, hey, can you stop for a minute so I can send this text? So I stopped, and I stopped in the wrong place. I stopped in the gooeyest, softest mud. You know, like if you keep your momentum up, you can keep on going through that stuff. And if I just would have kept going a few more feet, I would have made it out of that mud. But unfortunately, I didn't. And this back wheel here was, I mean, this thing was buried. This was so deep in a big old pile of mud, and it was just spinning. And this wheel kind of had a little bit of purchase, like it was almost getting up there, but every time I revved the engine, that back wheel just dug itself in deeper and deeper. And so at first, we all, you know, got the shovel out. I only had one shovel, but started digging. I go, well, let's just throw some rocks in there, and we, you know, put some branches in, get some traction. And I travel with traction boards. They would have been completely covered in mud afterwards, which is another reason why I would maybe get a roof rack on my next Forerunner, just so I don't have to carry stuff like that in the vehicle. You know, it's dirty. Anyway, we tried piling in rocks and sticks and stuff, and it just kept digging in deeper and deeper. And so the kid was like, I don't think you should keep spinning your wheel. You're just digging in more and more, and you're going to get high-centered on the mud. And it's true. When I looked under the undercarriage, the mud was so high. I was almost totally high-centered in the mud. Okay, the last thing I want is to get stuck in the middle of nowhere, Nevada mountains in the mud and have to stay there till the mud dries. And, well, these people that I was with had a better idea anyway. They go, oh, well, there's people out here who will come tow us. It's no big deal. We'll just call the neighbors. They'll come tow us out. That's what these rural folk do. Okay, it's just like a neighborly thing they do out there in the boonies. You get stuck, somebody will come tow you out. And it's happened to everybody. It's nothing to be ashamed of. So my friend called the trapper, actually. Hey, trapper, can you come up, come tow us out? Well, unfortunately, trapper, he didn't have a truck. I think he wasn't driving his truck. But he said, oh, I know who to get. We'll go and get, this other couple. They have a big diesel truck and chains and we'll come get you. Well, it happened to be, out of all the people in the world, that lady who doesn't like me, okay? She's a boss. I mean, she seems like a very cool woman. She does search and rescue. She has a big old diesel truck with chains and everything. So she's the one, out of everybody in the world, who has to come pull me out of this jam. Oh, can you imagine? Like, I'm already depressed enough and embarrassed enough that I got myself into this fix. Now the one lady who doesn't like me is gonna roll up and she's gonna see me and go, oh, she might not even tow me out. You know, maybe she really hates me. Maybe she'll just point her finger and laugh. Oh no, because my friend was with me and she's actually pretty good friends with that lady. So, and the kid was with me. So, you know, if nothing else, I'm hoping this lady will be cool and tow me out for the sake of the kid and my friend. But I didn't know. I was real nervous. So I thought, okay, well, maybe she won't recognize me because she didn't know that my friend was friends with me. So I took off my sunglasses. I took off my hat. I took off my hoodie, everything that said Wonderhussy on it. And I didn't have makeup on. I put my hair up in a scrunchy little scroungy thing on top of my head. And then I put mud on my face. And I just tried to keep a low profile. So when this truck finally rolled up to tow us out, it was the woman and her husband and the trapper. And so they all got out and I just sort of kept my eyes downcast. Like, oh, thank you so much for coming to help me. Thank you. You know, I had my tow strap ready with the little, I think they're called clevens, those hooks for the end. And we hooked one of those to the front of my rig. Right here, and there's a hook designed for that purpose. So we hooked the tow strap there and the other end of it to her diesel truck. And it only took like less than a minute. Boop, pulled me right out. And then the very next day, as soon as possible, I went to the car wash in Tonopah and hosed all the mud off my axles and out of my wheel wells. So, well, looking at it now, you'd never know anything happened. But it gets even better. So they pulled me out. Yeah, thank you so much. And I rolled my tow strap back up, put it back in the car. Everybody jumped back in. The truck left, went on their way. We all got in the Forerunner and went on our way. And went back to my friend's house where by now, you know, too much time had gone by. She couldn't make ribs anymore, but she heated up some food. We all had dinner with the trapper and his wife, and the trapper was just wonderful. Wonderful guy. His wife was a wonderful woman. Really nice people. But as we're sitting there having dinner, the trapper goes, I think I'm in trouble. You know, what do you mean? Why are you in trouble? Well, I didn't know I wasn't supposed to tell who you were, and I did. So come to find out, the trapper told this woman who I was from the very get-go. All along, the whole ride up there, she knew exactly who was stuck and who she was going to help. And this woman had the grace not to say anything about it. Or, you know, if it was me, I might be inclined to go, look who's in trouble. Neener, neener, neener. Nope, this woman was solid class. She didn't say a dang thing. They just hooked up my truck and pulled me out and, you know, they were nice. Which I posted about this on Instagram and I said, I feel like there's a lesson to be learned in that story. In that, I guess, rural folks, and I guess I consider myself a rural folk myself now because I do live out here in the middle of nowhere in this tiny town of 150 people. Well, you have to help your neighbor. Doesn't matter if you agree with them politically or religion-wise or you maybe have a problem with what they make YouTube videos about. If your neighbor has a problem, you got to help your neighbor. And I think we would all do well to learn from that. You know, whether or not you live out in the sticks or in the big city, we're all on this planet together. We all have to share this planet for the next however many years we have. It's in all of our best interest to just get along. So, well, the way I put it in my post was, just be excellent to each other. And party on, dude! It was just one of the many, many adventures I've had in this amazing Toyota 4Runner. I like this car enough that I think I probably will get a new one. I'm just kind of waiting to see, like, I keep hearing a recession is coming and the economy's gonna tank and maybe cars will get cheaper if I wait till the fall. But then I also hear that this is the last year, or this 2023 is the last year they're going to make the Forerunner with the 6-liter or the V6 engine. I think they're going to 4-cylinder. The new ones are going to be 4 bangers, just as capable, I'm sure, and just as powerful, and probably better fuel economy. But people seem to think that this engine and this one here is bulletproof, and I don't know. Like, if I want to get a 2023, I have to get it ASAP before there aren't any more new ones. Or maybe I should wait and get the new 4-cylinder. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think I should do? Should I just shut up and stop worrying about it? Because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just keep driving this. I mean, 170k miles, it could go for another 170k. Or should I take my peace of mind into account and buy a brand new Forerunner? Or should I live a little and try something more exotic? I mean, I have always been curious about van life. Maybe if I got like I feel like Ford Transit makes a 4x4 van, don't they? I just don't want a big one. I want something small that I can still squirrel myself away. And, you know, the more I think about it, the more it just seems like the Forerunner is the way to go. So if anyone at Toyota happens to be watching, holla at me.